On today's edition of Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM, we're going to pick the quarterfinal games. But first, some big news in the world of scheduling and the world of scheduling around the college football playoff. Notre Dame and USC will not be continuing their series in 2026 and 2027. One of the most historic rivalries in college football is on pause. This is horrendous, awful. An affront to the game. These two teams need to be playing. They're not going to play. We'll explain why. And then we will pick the games of the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. Miami, Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Oregon, Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl. Alabama, Indiana in the Rose Bowl. Ole Miss, Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. BetMGM has furnished us with lines for all of those games, and they are juicy. Ari and I will debate and pick the games later in the show. But first, we got to talk USC and Notre Dame today on Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. We are proud to be sponsored by BetMGM. All the lines and totals we use on the show come from the folks at BetMGM. Here's how you get started. You download the BetMGM app, sign up using the code CFB, that's CFB as in college football, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. You download the app, you sign up using the code CFB. You deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code CFB when you sign up. And of course, we haven't forgotten the folks who've been signed up and who've been playing with BetMGM. This week, your gift, this is coming in your stocking, on Wednesday and Thursday, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, a Pro Football No Sweat token. So get ready to holiday cheer with a Pro Football No Sweat token. You get a stake back in bonus bets if you don't win. There's also a Pro Football Odds Boost token. You can boost your Christmas spirit with a Pro Football Odds Boost token. Use your token to net a bigger payout on a winning holiday football bet. So you've got games on Christmas Day. You've got a No Sweat token and an Odds Boost token that you can use for those games. They will be valid on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So sign up for BetMGM, use the code CFB, and make this one legendary with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. We will be using those BetMGM lines to pick the quarterfinal games of the college football playoffs later in the show. But first, we got to talk about some major scheduling news. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo reporting that Notre Dame and USC have failed to come to an agreement on an extension of their historic rivalry. What would have been the 97th game in the series in 2026 is not going to get played. We've been talking about this for a while. We've known that they were at odds, trying to figure out how to continue the rivalry. USC, with its new Big Ten schedule, does not necessarily want to keep playing Notre Dame on the dates that they've been playing Notre Dame. And so in the odd years, when USC goes to South Bend, that would have been in October. In the even years, when Notre Dame goes to USC, that was always the Saturday after Thanksgiving, the final game of the regular season. And USC did not want to do that. They wanted to play earlier in the season. And they had talked this year about a week 0 game in 2026. But according to Ross Dellinger, those negotiations have fallen apart. Notre Dame has added BYU to its schedule in 2026 and 2027 to make up for not playing USC. This rivalry, they've met 79 times consecutively, excluding the COVID season. The only two things that have kept these two teams from playing for most of the past century World War II, and a worldwide pandemic. And now, scheduling concerns, worries about competitiveness, worries about not making the college football playoff. That is what is derailing the rivalry. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. These two teams need to play. It's incredibly soft that they're not going to play each other anymore. And Jen Cohen and Pete Pavakwa, the two athletic directors, are supposed to get back together to try to resume the rivalry, but it's not going to happen the next 2 years. And it's just all of the things that college football keeps losing. This is one of the worst ones. This is one of the most important rivalries in the sport. This was kind of a big team from the East playing a big team from the West. Why did it start? It started, well, you go back to the early 1900s where Fielding Yost, the coach of Michigan, was blackballing Notre Dame, basically had the rest of the schools in the proto-Big Ten, the Western Conference, blackballing Notre Dame. And so Notre Dame had to go east to play Army in this, and that was one of the best teams in the country at the time. In the 20s, they started going west to play USC, and they end up playing this national schedule, become this huge powerhouse of a team. It raises the profile of the whole university. Meanwhile, USC gets exposed to the East Coast by playing Notre Dame every year. It's one of the coolest rivalries in college football. The history of it's amazing. The pageantry of it's amazing. The colors are amazing. The uniforms are amazing. The players who've played in this game. Think about that. Think about all of that. And it's just tossed to the side. Now, I do think it's soft that USC doesn't want to play it, but I do understand where Jen Cohen is coming from. Let's look at USC's Big Ten schedule in 2026. At home, they get Maryland. Okay, no big deal. Then Ohio State, Oregon, and Washington. We don't know the dates of those games yet, but we do know they're getting Ohio State, Oregon, and Washington at home. At least they get those at home. But I suspect Washington's going to be better than they were this year, and we know what Ohio State and Oregon are going to be. They're going to be powerhouses. Meanwhile, on the road, Indiana, Penn State, Rutgers, Wisconsin, and UCLA. If Matt Campbell does what we think he's going to do at Penn State, they're going to be good immediately. We know what Indiana is now under Kurt Cignetti. So, yes, USC has a very difficult road. Very difficult. And they're in a situation where they want to make the college football playoff. They have not made it under Lincoln Riley. They came very close to making the 14 playoff in year one, but lost in the Pac-12 championship game. This year, if they'd beaten Oregon, they probably would have made it, but they lost that game, and it wasn't particularly close. And so they feel pretty far away. And if you add a game with Notre Dame, well, that's probably another loss given the way that Notre Dame's been recruiting and playing of late. So I get why they do that. I get why they wanted to put that game earlier rather than later, because if you put that in the middle of Big Ten play and it's sandwiched between an Ohio State game and a Penn State game, well, that's a lot of body blow theory that your team's going to have to deal with. But it's so sad that it has to end this way. Notre Dame, meanwhile, it's crazy when you think about it. The Irish just opted out of the Pop-Tarts Bowl where they would have played BYU, and now they're scheduling BYU. So the BYU fans who said Notre Dame was ducking them, no, they were just throwing a fit over not being in the college football playoff, and that's why they opted out of the bowl. But they're going to go play BYU. BYU, I'm sure, has some empathy for Notre Dame in this situation because BYU did play as a football independent until it joined the Big 12, and scheduling's hard when you're an independent. Scheduling games when you need to schedule them in October, November as an independent when everybody else is playing in conference is very, very difficult. So that's the situation Notre Dame finds itself in. And actually, a big reason why Notre Dame was probably left out of the college football playoff this year. So Notre Dame loses close games to Miami and Texas A&M in their first two games. So in week 1 and week 3, they lose those games. They then win 10 in a row, but the 10 in a row were against teams that weren't particularly great. USC was the best team they played in that stretch, and that was a very good win. Pittsburgh was a very good win. Navy was a pretty good win, but the other games didn't really help them very much. And the problem is, other than the ACC scheduling agreement, which is 5 ACC teams must play Notre Dame every year, they have no way of getting power conference competition in October, November without the USC game. And so they're going to have to play ACC teams. And if those ACC teams aren't good, which was a lot of what they were dealing with this year, Miami and Pittsburgh were good, the rest of them were not, then they've got to deal with that. And I think that's the biggest problem that Notre Dame faces now in this era, trying to be an independent. And we've talked a lot on the show about how important Notre Dame's independence was. You know, I am not a Notre Dame needs to join a conference person. I don't care if they ever join a conference. I just hope that they can cobble together a schedule that allows them to not have to win the first 2 games of the season if they want to make the playoff. Like I don't want them to have to front load their whole schedule every year. I don't think that's fun. Whether it's fair or not is irrelevant because they are choosing independence. So it's their choice here. But I do think it would be better if they could play some good games down the stretch of the season. Now, let's look at their 2026 schedule. So they're going to put BYU in there where they were going to play USC. They open against Wisconsin. If Luke Fickell doesn't make Wisconsin better, that's going to be a cakewalk for Notre Dame. They've got Michigan State on September 19th. If Pat Fitzgerald doesn't immediately make the Spartans better, that's going to be an easy win. They've got North Carolina on October 3rd. If Bill Belichick, who just hired Bobby Petrino as his offensive coordinator, we're going to talk about that. But if North Carolina's roster is not better than it was this year, that's going to be an easy one too. BYU is going to be one of their toughest games. They've got Miami on November 7th. So they do have that one in a good spot this year. And so the ACC scheduling agreement helping them out in that particular case. So it's not as front loaded, though they kind of need some of the front to load up. Like they need Wisconsin to be good, or they need Michigan State to be good, or they could run into the same situation they ran into this year where they might not have enough quality wins if they were to lose to Miami and BYU. So it's either go 11-1 or 12-0, or hope these teams get better. But that's the problem is, like USC, I think is going to be pretty good next year. I don't know if they're going to wind up having the same or better record than they had this year because their schedule's harder next year. And that's kind of why they're doing this. That's kind of why this all fell apart. And so it's a tough situation, but I just think it sucks for the sport that this series is not being continued. Like World War II is a good reason to not play the game. Global pandemic is an okay reason to not play the game. My schedule might be too hard is not an okay reason to not play this game. You should want to play this game. And I know Notre Dame wants to play this game, but let's be real here. USC's conference schedule is hard. Notre Dame's schedule is not hard. They need better games. USC doesn't. But it still sucks. I get the reasons. Doesn't make it suck any less. Jen Cohen, Pete Bavacqua, I'm assuming you'll still be in your roles in the next couple of years. Fix this. Get this series back on the schedule. Fix it. You don't want to be the people who were at fault for this series going away. And if you don't fix it, you will be. It sucks. I don't know what to say. Like all of these changes in the sport, they rarely give us anything better. And you'd think with all this TV money and TV networks basically pulling the puppet strings on everything, that they'd make sure something like this, which is a great TV product, would happen. But it's not happening. So we will go in 26 and 27 with no USC Notre Dame game. Guys, fix it. This is not a good direction for the sport. This doesn't need to happen. Fix it. So I woke up this morning, first thing I did, I grabbed my Huel Black Edition powder, put some water in my shaker bottle, 2 scoops, shake, 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 breakfast, done. And if I didn't even have time for that, I could have grabbed my Huel Ready to Drink Black Edition. I got the chocolate peanut butter flavor right here. That would have been a hell of a way to start the morning too. Huel has all the ways to start your day, to grab a quick lunch. If you need a complete meal and you don't have time to cook, you don't have time to hit the grocery store, Huel has what you need, and you get everything you need in either of these bottles. And so the best way to do that is with the high protein starter kit, which gives you the Black Edition ready to drink bottles and Black Edition powder. So you order this, you can help get all your nutrients. You don't have to cook. You don't have to shop. Use the code Staples20 at Huel.com. So that's Huel.com. Code Staples20 will get you 20% off. You get 35 plus grams of protein. You get 27 essential vitamins and minerals. They're gluten-free, no artificial sweeteners, colors, or flavors, and it's under $5 per meal. Have you tried to go out for lunch lately? Can you get anything under $5? Absolutely not. And especially when you're going out, you're not getting this level of nutrition. So go to Huel.com, Huel.com, use the code Staples20 for 20% off and grab that high protein starter kit right now. In other news, Bill Belichick is trying to fix his coaching staff at North Carolina. To that end, he has hired Bobby Petrino, most recently Arkansas offensive coordinator and interim coach, also former Arkansas head coach, former Louisville head coach, former Western Kentucky head coach, former Atlanta Falcons head coach. Bobby Petrino's got a long history here. But one thing Bobby Petrino has always been is an excellent play caller. And I'm very interested to see how this relationship works because I'm not worried about Bobby Petrino coming in and trying to Bigfoot Bill Belichick. Nobody's Bigfooting Bill Belichick. But we also saw Bobby Petrino come in as the OC with Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. That didn't work. Now, I suspect this is a very different dynamic. In that situation in 2023, when Bobby Petrino was brought in to be the offensive coordinator and rescue Texas A&M's offense, Jimbo Fisher was the primary play caller, didn't really want to give it up, probably didn't really give it up. But we saw at Arkansas, Bobby Petrino calling plays can still be devastatingly effective. So Bill Belichick, defensive guy, tends to let his coordinators cook when they're good. I think he's going to let Bobby Petrino cook. The question is, will they have a better roster than they had this year? Because that's what matters here. You know, Michael Lombardi, their general manager, came in. They had all this talk about they were the 33rd NFL team. They were really the 15th Sun Belt team based on their roster, based on who they tried to go get in the portal, where they're fighting against group of 5 teams in the portal and not realizing that that's a recipe for failure. I'm assuming they've learned a little since then. So we will see how they stock that roster. But if you put together a kind of the average ACC team with Bobby Petrino calling the offense, and you keep the defensive staff the same, because I would say North Carolina's defense as the season went on got much better. Steve Belichick did fine. Average ACC team, roster-wise, Bobby Petrino calling plays, get a decent quarterback in there. I can live with that. I think that would be a competitive team in the ACC. I think there's a really good chance you have a competitive team in the ACC doing that. And so I'm more intrigued by North Carolina than I would have been. We knew they were making a change. We knew they were moving on from Freddie Kitchens. I didn't know what that would result in. But this shows that Bill Belichick is saying, you know what? I need someone who understands how to run a college offense. And Bobby Petrino is one of the best at running a college offense and has been. You can say whatever you want about all of the other stuff with Bobby Petrino. He's really good at calling plays and always has been. So that's going to make it interesting. Fun note about this, though. Our producer, River, this is a Worlds Collide. His last 2 Halloween costumes were Bobby Petrino and Bill Belichick. So now producer River's Halloween costumes are colliding in Chapel Hill and will be on the same sideline. And River, next year, do you just do like split down the middle, one Bobby Petrino and one Bill Belichick?
I don't know. I feel like I've manifested it at this point. Maybe Steve Belichick next year. I get like a wig or something.
Can you do the man bun?
I have to grow some hair out for a long time.
Growing it out now, and you can do the man bun.
All right. And then we'll complete the staff.
Yes. I love it. You have Belichick and both his coordinators,
Mm-hmm.
at least until everybody's gone after December.
Yeah, until everyone's out.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe this works. Maybe this is the beginning of a long and fruitful relationship in Chapel Hill. Because what could possibly go wrong?
Just look at the picture in the middle.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Next up, Ari and I picked the games of the college football playoff quarterfinals, and they're all fun, and the lines are all very, very interesting. Let's pick some games. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. And Ari, it is time to pick the quarterfinals. And look, I realize we got a week and a half. There's a lot going on. Christmas is coming up. People are buying their last-minute gifts. People are trying to wrap everything. But we got lines, and we got to pick these games.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's 10 days between the games and when we're recording this. That means, but 6 of those days are like fake void days that are between Christmas and New Year's, and no one knows what planet they're on. So I want to make sure
what day it is. Yeah.
Those aren't real days.
Well, that's what we were trying to plan out the shows, and we're like, so is that a Tuesday or a Monday? And it doesn't matter.
Yeah, what are we talking about? Like, has anybody on December 27th ever known it was December 27th? No.
Well, they've known it was December 27th, but they haven't known if it was Tuesday or not.
Yeah, that's right. So, I think we should get this out into the ether as soon as possible.
Plus it gives us more times for mulligans.
Yeah, and also, who doesn't like picking games? Who doesn't like talking about games? And, we are getting to the point now where even if you think that the first round of the CFP, which we discussed extensively on Saturday night, was entertaining, we've gotten to the heart of it, which is 8 really good teams and incredibly interesting matchups that are going to determine the national championship. So it might have taken the long route, but we got here.
And there's not a game I'm not excited for. Now, last year, I wasn't particularly excited for Penn State, Boise State, and I wasn't particularly excited for Texas and Arizona State. Now, I should have been excited for Texas and Arizona State because that game turned out to be maybe the most fun game of the entire college football playoff.
You just got dilly-dilly, a pretty nice extension.
That's
too.
exactly right.
But yeah, no, you're right. There are no games here that aren't appointment television.
Yes.
For everyone.
This is exactly what they envisioned. And I think we had that argument about the quality of the games in the first round. We're not going to have that argument in the second round. There may be blowouts. We never know. But every one of them looks interesting. The highest spread is 10 points. It is the first game we're going to talk about. It is the Friday game. It's the New Year's Eve game.
Is that a Friday?
It is not a Friday. It's a Wednesday.
Yeah, would not know that.
Yeah, it's the New Year's Eve game. So the Cotton Bowl, you'll be there at Jerry World. Miami versus Ohio State. You and I were in College Station to see Miami beat Texas A&M on Saturday. We had some praise for the defense. We had some praise for the run game and Mark Fletcher Jr. We had some criticisms for the rest of the offense and the passing game. It's going to have to be better, but Miami is a 10-point underdog. This opened at 9.5 and has now moved to Ohio State -10. I feel like that's a little high, though, given the talent level of both of these teams.
Yeah, so I want to take this opportunity that before we get into the game to talk about Notre Dame. I'm kidding.
I believed you for like 2 seconds.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself. You think it's high? Explain.
I do think it's high because I think Miami has the level of elite talent that Ohio State really hasn't had to play this season. Maybe against Texas, maybe they had to play some of that, but I think Miami has more of it than Texas right now. I mean, look, Ruben Bain, potential first rounder. Akeem Mesidor is going to be a high round draft pick. Mark Fletcher Jr. is an excellent running back. Malachi Toney's only a freshman, but he's going to be off the charts.
One of the stars of the sport.
Yeah. Bryce Fitzgerald, the safety who had 2 interceptions against Texas A&M, he's going to be one of the stars of the sport.
Freshman.
This is kind of what we used to say with Ohio State teams when they'd have these young guys and they'd be mixed with some really good going to the NFL potential first round talent.
I also think that there's a step past the first round thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the players who are also producing at a first round level.
Well, right. They've also got guys that are going to be third rounders and fourth round. Like this is a team of future NFL players, and Ohio State doesn't. They're usually the only team of a bunch of future NFL players on the field.
And you're playing. There are a lot of players in the NFL who turn out to be very good in the league because they have traits and ability, but they didn't produce a ton in college.
Right.
I mean, the one that always pops out to me is like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like he's one of the best receivers in the NFL, and he was pretty good in college, but he wasn't like an electrifying, like no doubt about it player. Miami's players are producing at a high level consistently. And I think that that's the most important distinction. It's not just guys who have traits, it's guys who are really good at college football.
Yeah, they have the traits, and they're getting it done. Now, can they do it against Ohio State is the other question. Like, can they run the ball up the middle the way they did against Texas A&M? Because look, Texas A&M has a pretty stout defensive front, though. Texas ran on them pretty well too.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what Miami saw and realized, hey, we can take advantage of that. I don't know that you can run on Ohio State like that.
Yeah, it is interesting because Mark Fletcher against A&M ran for 176 yards. And at the game, it didn't really feel like
he had a 56-yarder on the last drive.
And I think he had a 35-yarder on another. So like half of his yards came on 2 plays. But they have a very effective running back to complement a player that they're going to go out of their way to get the ball. And we joked about Shannon Dawson's creative play. Can
you imagine if Ohio State did for Jeremiah Smith what Miami was doing for Malachi Toney?
Yeah,
just in terms of getting the ball in his hands.
Very different players, but yes, I think that like it's always important to try your best to get your most electric players the ball with some space to make something happen. But I think that more than anything, and we can break down Miami's offense all we want, is Miami's defense going to be able to stop Ohio State from running it effectively? Mm-hmm. Are they going to be able to pressure the quarterback with 4 people?
Right.
And are they going to be able to rattle Julian Sayin? And it's crazy to say, but it is a fact. Julian Sayin did not face a fourth quarter deficit one time until the Indiana game all year.
Yeah. So it hasn't had to deal with that. And also Miami just had to deal with Marcel Reed, who's a lot more dangerous in terms of escapability. Like, they were scared to death of what happens if Marcel Reed gets out of the pocket. They're not worried about Julian Sayin getting out of the pocket.
Yeah.
And so it's a different game plan defensively.
So like there is like this rabbit hole where you could go down where it's like, well, Miami can do exactly what Indiana did and try to duplicate that.
The trick of it is you still have to cover Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, which Indiana did.
Yeah.
So can Miami do that? Because Miami has really good athletes in the secondary.
Well, the other trick of it is too, is just like, are we going to fool ourselves into like thinking that Ohio State is not a juggernaut now?
Right. Are we going to say Ohio State, oh, they showed some flaws against Indiana, and think, okay, Miami's going to pull the upset here, and then Ohio State just wins it by 17.
Yeah, and which might happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, the spread is large for a reason. So, but yeah, call up the stats here. What were you going to refer to?
So I'm looking at the Ohio State and Indiana game, because that was my curiosity is, what did Ohio State do defensively against Indiana's run game, which their best backs average about 5.5 yards a carry. They average 3.5 yards a carry against Ohio State's defense. So you're probably not going to get what you're used to in the run game against Ohio State. But the other side of that box score is really interesting too. Indiana held Ohio State to 2.2 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Miami's defensive front is every bit as good as Indiana's.
Yeah. And I have like a hard time breaking down the actual Big Ten title game, because on one hand, Ohio State scored 2 really long time-consuming drives where they moved the ball down the field and then just wound up with no points at the end. A missed chip shot field goal and a failed 4th and 1 attempt from inside the 5-yard line that could have been points. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it didn't look like Alabama in the first half of the Oklahoma game. Like, they were moving the ball consistently the entire game. But there is a difference between moving the ball and scoring and converting. Like, moving the ball is only 80% of the battle. Getting it getting the pill into the bucket's the other part. So,
well, and the other thing I thought that I found very interesting, Miami's open field tackling was spectacular in the Texas A&M game. And Texas A&M had feasted all year on getting the ball out to Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver, and they break one tackle and they're gone. And Miami never let that happen.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to do that to Jeremiah Smith.
And Ohio State's offense isn't really predicated on that.
Right.
Now they do smaller, shorter routes to Jeremiah, like screens, tunnel screens, bubble screens, things like that, to like try to get the ball in his hands. But like, Jeremiah's real superpower is one-on-one coverage, when he's able to exploit that and jumping over a defensive back 27 yards on the field and bringing
which he
it down.
Can still do against Miami. Like that isn't changing.
Yeah, Jeremiah Smith is going to get his. I mean, it's funny because he had 144 yards in the game where they scored 10 points. So and actually he did catch that like 50-yard bomb as time expired. So basically 100 yards. But it's a different type of offense to stop. They're going to be a hard-nosed running team that's going to try to move the ball through gritty yardage with Bo Jackson, but they're going to take their shots downfield. And Miami wasn't really taking shots downfield.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
sorry, A&M
wasn't. Yeah.
against
Well,
Miami.
Miami wasn't either. Miami wasn't taking shots downfield, and that's the other thing is Carson Beck is going to have to give Miami more than he gave in that Texas A&M game. I think he had 103 yards passing, 5.2 yards per attempt, which is awful. He gets credit for the Malachi Toney 11-yard touchdown, which was essentially an end around, but it's a little pop pass where you push it forward. So he gets credit for that. But so really, he had less than 100 yards passing in that game. If you think about it.
Yeah, and Ohio State's defense is excellent. So now the time has come to pick it. Whew. I'll go first. I know who I'm picking.
Okay, go.
Homer. I'm not overthinking this. I've overthought all year.
Mhm.
And I think that, there is a wormhole out there where Miami wins. Like, I really do.
Yep.
Like, I think that's a tough matchup, and Ohio State probably would rather play a few other teams in the second round than the one that they got.
Any other team, really.
Yeah, I mean, I
Other
don't know
than
about
maybe Georgia or Indiana, yeah.
but it's not an easy second round matchup, but I'm not going to overcorrect my opinion of Ohio State's team as a result of the Indiana game and the Big Ten championship. I think that there are, for lack of a better word, excuses that you could make for why they didn't perform at their highest level in that game. Brian Hartline left. It was a week after beating Michigan. Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate were not fully healthy. I think people forget that. They have a whole month to prepare, basically, or 3 weeks to prepare for this game. I think that they're going to be in pretty peak, like, blood on fangs mode. And I think winning by 10 shouldn't be too much for them. I'm going to lay the points here. And I think like a 31-20-ish type game, 31-14 type game is kind of what I'm anticipating.
So you're looking for a wormhole where Miami wins. I don't need Miami to win.
Yeah.
If I pick Miami, I need Miami to not lose by double digits. And I think that's possible. I think,
certainly possible.
I think with the level of talent that Miami has, a level of elite talent that Miami has, they can hang in this game and they can make it very interesting. I don't know if they have enough to win it. I think they would need to get Carson Beck's best game for that to happen. But I do think they can keep it within single digits. And so I feel like I'm on Shark Tank. For that reason, I'm going to take Miami to cover the 10. And I'm going to watch this line too, because you never know. I might be able to get more. And when are we doing our mulligans, Ari? Do we want to do mulligans next Tuesday?
At some point in the void between
Monday. Yeah. Again, we're just going to go by date numbers now because we don't know what days of the week.
The days between like starting this week and New Year's Day is statistically proven that people are the least online during the next 10 days than they are of any other point in this. So we'll find a time during the void. But we
know the Miami fan base is extremely online. So if I flipped my pick away from Miami, they get really mad at me. But I'm probably not going to do that. Even if this line moved I'm probably not going to do. Probably not flipping it. I like Miami. I like the way Miami's constructed. I love a team that has a big physical offensive line that can just maul people.
Yeah.
And I don't think Ohio State has to play teams like that very often.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I can see your point of view too. Yeah.
Because Michigan's not that this year. Michigan has been that in the past few years. They were not that this year. So I'm not sure that Ohio State's seen something to that level yet. I think Indiana's close, but that part of it is the most interesting. I'm not saying I think Miami's better than Indiana because I don't, but I do think Miami has enough really interesting parts of its team that match up well with what Ohio State isn't perfect in. And I think that makes this game really fun. So I am going to take Miami to cover. Ari, you got Ohio State to cover. You will be at the game. Oh, it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait to get after it.
Before we move on to the game that I will be at in Miami Gardens, Florida, let me tell you about Academy Sports and Outdoors. And hey, if you are still looking for those last Christmas gifts, Academy Sports and Outdoors is the place for you. The holiday season is here, and Academy Sports and Outdoors has the legendary gifts you need at undefeatable prices every day. Shop in-store or online at academy.com to save on gifts on everybody's list, from football jerseys, basketball hoops, fire pits to deer stands. The most wonderful time of the year happens here. This Christmas, give the gift of fun from Academy Sports and Outdoors, and I'm actually doing that. Like I said, my son not keeping current with the podcast, especially while he's off from school. So he's getting a buck. He's getting a punching bag.
Yeah,
and so Academy Sports and Outdoors, that's the place to go.
I got ski pants there a few days ago.
Oh, and you're ready? You're ready to shush down the mountain?
Shush. I don't know if that's going to be
shush.
Yeah, I mean, I'll shred some gnar out there.
yeah. I just it's funny because Ari, much better athlete than me.
Yeah,
he can ski. I just fall down the mountain. I roll. So that's all I can do.
I mean, like your idea of like staying inside and drinking bourbon while looking at a fireplace sounds far better.
That is what I do. When my family goes skiing, I find a place with a fireplace and bourbon.
Yeah.
So
what
you should find, though, is Academy Sports and Outdoors, because they have those last-minute Christmas gifts that you need. So hit up Academy and get what you need, and you will make those people on your list happy. They don't have to know you bought it 2 days before Christmas. They don't have to know that. All right, Ari. Let us head to South Florida. 2 teams you wouldn't expect to see in South Florida. Like none of this fits the traditional mold of the Orange Bowl, because the Orange Bowl, usually has the ACC champ in it. But it is Oregon and Texas Tech. I am so excited for this game. Oregon is a 1.5-point favorite. Vegas basically thinks this is a pick 'em. We saw Oregon play against James Madison. The Ducks did not seem real happy with their performance. One of their players said it felt almost like a loss, even though they did win by a bunch, but they gave up a ton of yards, ton of points.
A bunch is a relative term, not by enough.
Not by enough if certain people might have had the point spread. I'm not going to name names here.
Madison went on a 99-yard drive with like less than 3 minutes left in the game to score a touchdown at the end.
To cover.
I don't know if
that's the key thing here.
Yeah.
Look, this is the pick show presented by BetMGM. Are you
talk about?
You can say what you mean. You can say what you feel. So
I feel bad.
So
feel real bad.
Texas Tech. This is also kind of the biggest narrative game of the whole quarterfinals, because Texas Tech went out. They bought a team, Ari. Like, that's a bad thing.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. Oregon's been buying teams for years.
Yeah.
Oregon's really good at all Texas Tech did was try to do what Oregon's been doing since the beginning of the NIL era.
College football isn't about games. It's about who can deploy their assets the best.
Correct.
Texas Tech did a really good job.
They did.
They had a lot of money, but they spent it well.
Yes. And that's the thing. There's a lot of programs that have money that, made big purchases in the transfer portal that it didn't work out. This one did.
Yeah.
This was, and Joey McGuire, we talked to him about it at the beginning of the season. We said, do you feel pressure? He said, I absolutely feel pressure. But he also said he felt comfortable with how the new pieces fit into the puzzle, because he felt like they'd done a good job with the players they had. Like Jacob Rodriguez is a prime example of this. Like, you build around that guy. And guess what? When you build around that guy with David Bailey and Romello Height and Lee Hunter, you're doing all right.
I mean, they've been really good at personnel stat. I mean, James Blanchard and those guys do a really good job of identifying talent early, and how they fit into their scheme and stuff. So when you have the capital to go out and get guys that your really good evaluation staff is able to identify, that's the difference. I mean, Texas Tech for so many years would do a good job of evaluating players, and they would lose when Texas or Ohio State or somebody came in late and took those players. Now they can get them and keep them. So, but I think that, for me, I like the, drama of who will win and who will continue to fight for the right to go back to Miami later.
Mm-hmm.
That's always good. But I also am a big feelings guy and a narratives guy. And I like to watch games that help give us some insight on roster philosophy and all these things. And I think that this game illustrates that. And even though they're more similar than different in that regard, I do think that I'm interested to see how much can you accomplish in a single season or a single off season. How much can you add to your roster? How much can you spend? Can you narrow the gap between a traditional team that has been signing top 10 classes for the last 10 years in one single offseason in 2025 and going into 2026?
Yeah, and I think that's the big question. Now, I find it interesting that the folks in the desert seem to believe the answer is yes here. I thought the spread would be a little bit higher toward Oregon. I thought Texas Tech might be a 4 or 5 point underdog in this game. So to see it as a 1.5 point spread was surprising to me.
Yeah. And how much do you take from, all jokes aside about backdoor covers that have me not feeling so great?
Yeah.
How do you take the Oregon performance, in which I think JMU had north of 400 yards of offense in that game?
I think you especially look at the way JMU's scripted drive early went, and they did march down the field. Now they couldn't get it in the end zone. And then they pop a trick play on Oregon on that second possession. So there's definitely vulnerability in Oregon's defense. Oregon's defense is probably the part you're worried about the most. And that's interesting to me, because we're not talking much about Texas Tech's offense. We're talking about their defense specifically. We feel like their defense will shut anybody down, and then can their offense fill in? Can Baron Morton, throw all over a team? I don't know he's going to throw all over Oregon, but I think I would feel more confident that Texas Tech's going to be able to move the ball, going to be able to score some points consistently, and that the Texas Tech's defense will keep Oregon's offense from looking like it does against James Madison.
And we know that Oregon's good. We know that they're talented, but how good are they? I still think there's some question with that.
Well, right. Is Cameron Dickey going to be able to gain his average this season is 5.5 yards a carry? He's got 14 touchdowns on the ground. Like he's a when you're in the red zone with Cameron Dickey, you're feeling pretty good about your chances of landing in the end zone. So can Oregon stop that? And I don't know that Oregon is as stout up the middle. I think Oregon getting after the passer, yeah, they're good at that. I don't know if they're as stout up the middle as they need to be. Texas Tech may be able to run the ball here. And if they can, control tempo, because that's the other thing you want to do is keep Dante Moore out of rhythm. And you can do that by hitting him, or you can do that by keeping him off the field.
They've got some players on their team that can hit him.
Yeah.
So, I think that this is a really interesting matchup. And I'm really excited to see if Oregon is ascending at the right time, or if Oregon is the beneficiary of not playing in the Big Ten championship game and not really, facing anybody all that elite. I mean, what's the number one piece of proof that we have that Oregon is a team that can win a national championship outside of roster construction?
Right.
We have a game, right?
Right. And the USC game doesn't tell us much because USC was good, but not that good.
Right.
Because we saw Notre Dame handle them. We saw Illinois beat them. We don't know with Oregon yet. Now, the other thing we don't know, what will Oregon's offense look like when it appears they will have their full complement of receivers, which they've not had all season. Evan Stewart was their best returning receiver. He got hurt in the spring. There's a chance we see him in this game. So we would see him and DeCorian Moore and, the entire menu, Kenyon Sadiq, like all, and I know Sadiq's a tight end, but Sadiq's the freakiest player on the field in this game. So he's the freakiest athlete on the field. They have so many weapons. And I think that's the thing. Even as good as Texas Tech's defense is, will Oregon potentially be able to overwhelm them with the sheer number of athletes they can throw at you?
I'm very torn in how to pick this.
I know.
So what are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's a low-scoring game. I think, and look, I think Oregon can win both ways. I think Oregon's capable of winning a shootout or a low-scoring game. So I'm not really worried about that. Like if Texas Tech drags them into a low-scoring, lower number of possession type game, I don't think that eliminates the chance for Oregon to win it. I think they can play that way too, which is why I think Oregon's kind of my dark horse national title team. So I think you probably know where I'm going with this. I think Oregon's going to win it, which it's essentially a pick 'em. So yeah, I'll take Oregon to cover.
Yeah. Don't feel good about either side, honestly. But I am an animal with stripes, and I can't change my stripes. I think
is this a Stars Matter pick?
Yeah.
Really? Because I'm not sure Stars Matter's the delineator in this game, because I think Texas Tech bought enough stars.
I think that you're right. And I don't think this is Oregon JMU. I think Oregon has a lot of top tier NFL players at positions that are going to be hard. Like just getting Evan Stewart back and DeCorian Moore being healthy. I think they might have just one or two players too much to keep to win the game.
So that
we're not picking.
What you're saying is if this were next year and Texas Tech's been doing this for a couple of years,
I think that Texas Tech is certainly capable of winning the game, but I'm still going to go with the team that's been doing this for 4 years over the team that's been doing it once or 1 year, and it might turn out to be that's wrong.
I don't think either of us is predicting. Like we're obviously both picking Oregon here. I don't think either of us is predicting a blowout here.
I mean, the spread's 1.5. If you were giving me 7 points, Texas Tech.
Yeah, I think there's high probability we're both wrong here. And it's really going to come down to who deploys you said it's all about deployment of assets. Who deploys their really good players better in this game? And this actually may come down to coaching.
Like Texas Tech has yet to stray off the path of Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't played a team like
right. They
this
didn't
yet.
play a tough non-conference schedule. And that I think that may come back to bite them in the ass.
And
I think they may wish they had.
Say what you want about Oregon losing to Indiana. They played a 4-quarter game with the best team in the sport right now.
Yeah.
So, like, we've
and
seen it.
You can say Oregon didn't play anybody good in the non-conference either, and they didn't. But they also know that they're going to play Indiana. They also know that if they win enough, they play Ohio State or Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, which they didn't make it to this year. But they know they're going to get games like that.
Yeah.
And Texas Tech doesn't get those games. Now, it happened to be that BYU was really good this year and that Utah was really good this year. So they did get some of that. But those BYU and Utah are not on Oregon's level in terms of talent.
So I'm going to take the Ducks, but at the same time, know with an open heart that I could be wrong. So
yeah, I can't wait for this. Is going to be so much fun. All right, before we move on to the Rose Bowl, I got to tell you about Game Time. Do you want to go to any of these games? You could be with Ari. Well, he's going to be in the press box, but you could be at the Cotton Bowl with a better seat than Ari if you get it on Game Time. Plenty of good seats available. You can get in the low hundreds to the Cotton Bowl for Miami, Ohio State. You want really good seats, you're maybe in the 300s, but lots of good seats available. Everything's on Game Time. You can also get Orange Bowl tickets, see Texas Tech play the Ducks. I'm sure the folks from Lubbock are going to be descending in mass upon South Florida, and it's going to be so much fun because I want to see tortillas flying. I want to see tortillas flying. I want to see these guys, because they've got the great Mexican food where they're from. I want to see them eating some Cuban food in Miami and get their take on that because how I feel about that, the Cuban food. I love it. Also, the Rose Bowl, Alabama, Indiana. I know the Hoosiers are headed out to Pasadena, but there are still lots of good tickets available on Game Time. So download the Game Time app, use the code STAPLES. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, of course. But every game, the tickets are there. You can get budget tickets. If you got a little more to spend, you can get right there, 50-yard line, few rows up. You get exactly what you need. You see exactly where you'd be sitting on the Game Time app. And the price you see is the price you pay. No hidden fees. So use that code STAPLES. Get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Go to Game Time. Swipe, tap, ticket, go at Game Time. Now let us go to Pasadena. The Rose Bowl, Alabama against Indiana. This line opened at Indiana -6.5. It has now moved up to Indiana -7. So the folks saw that and said, you know what? I think Indiana is actually better than Alabama, even more so than Vegas originally thought. And I've said it a bunch of times. I said it when this line came out. It's still, my brain doesn't process it right. When I see those logos and I see Indiana with the minus next to its name, it's still very tough to process.
Yeah. You strip the paint off of these teams.
Take the logos away.
And you just watch all their games.
And the line makes perfect sense. In fact, you wonder why it's not higher.
And there you go. You said it. You put it out there. I don't think Alabama's very good. I'm just going to put it out there. I think they're solid.
I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's a pretty reasonable statement given what we've seen the last few games.
We were at the game on Friday night in Norman. While impressive to go on the road and win against a team that's got a very good defense, I thought Oklahoma handed them that game on a silver platter. I don't buy into the thought that Alabama went out and took something. Now, they kept the lead. They won by 10. You made that point. That's a good point. But they were very close to just getting blown out. And a testament to that is
there's a dropped pass that would have made it 31-7.
Yeah. And you had I don't know if you deleted it, but you have a 550-word file on your computer that shows that you were on the same page as me.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is an overcorrection in how we are going to view this because of the paint on the helmets. And when I say we, I mean everybody. I always do that a lot. But it's you got to get past it. Indiana hasn't given you a reason to think that they are going to not win this game by 10. Yeah, I just don't know what explain to me what it looks like. Alabama just plays their
Alabama suddenly finds a running game. And I just,
how do you find that?
You don't find it against this defense. Yeah. That's the thing. We just watched Indiana hold Ohio State to 2.2 yards a carry. Like, they're not going to suddenly forget how to defend the run because they see some team with numbers on their helmets.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, we're in the AC in Waco, Texas, recording this, and we are looking out onto the beautiful town of Waco. There's a duffel bag filled with $1 billion by that dumpster over there. I'm going to go find it. I'm a billionaire now. That's not how it works. Okay.
Yeah.
It just, I don't see it. And I don't know if that is just
the only way that Alabama wins this thing is they force some turnovers, get some short fields. I mean, this is a classic how a massive underdog wins a game recipe. Like, that's it. Because Alabama, nothing we've seen says they're going to be able to run the ball consistently against Indiana. And because they probably won't be able to run the ball consistently, their passing game is not going to be very good. You saw the SEC championship game against Georgia. They couldn't really do anything offensively. Early in the game against Oklahoma, very discombobulated in the pass game because they couldn't do anything on the ground. They started to run the ball better as the game went on, and it got easier to throw. And you also, Ty Simpson, I believe he's more healthy. He certainly looked more mobile in the Oklahoma game. So I do think, as good as Indiana's defense is, probably not as good at getting after the quarterback as Oklahoma's, because there aren't many who are. So maybe Ty Simpson has a little more time to throw. But again, unless like Ryan Williams suddenly reverts to Ryan Williams of the first half of his freshman year form, I don't know who he's throwing to other than Jeremy Bernard. And Jeremy Bernard's great, but you got to have more than that.
Yeah. I'm just not going to overcomplicate this. I'm going to pick the better team to cover the spread. The better team is Indiana. I don't care about history today. I don't care about what you were for 10 years. I care about the tape that you put on.
Well, and the thing is, Indiana is more similar to a Nick Saban Alabama team than Kalen DeBoer's Alabama team is.
And if you were, again,
Indiana,
strip the uniforms.
When Indiana plays a team that's overmatched, Indiana kicks the crap out of it. Like, Indiana doesn't not show up for games. They when they play a team that's inferior, they crush that team. And I'm not saying that Alabama is that inferior to Indiana, because Alabama is one of the more talented teams that Indiana is going to play all season. But Indiana just got done beating a much more talented team than Alabama.
Yeah.
In Ohio State.
Held Ohio State to 10 points on a neutral field.
Yeah. So it's not like Alabama's going to scare Indiana. It's not like Alabama's talent is going to scare Indiana. They've played Ohio State. They've gone to Oregon and won. Oregon's just as talented as Alabama, if not more talented. So they're not going to be afraid of any of this. None of it's going to intimidate them. So all of the narrative stuff that we're going to talk about around the game, and Ari and I are going to be really guilty of that between now and the game too.
Feelings.
Yeah. Curt Cignetti's not going to be dealing with any of that. Fernando Mendoza is not going to be dealing in any of that. They're going to be watching the film, and they're going to watch the film and go, we're better than this team.
So you're with me?
I am with you. And 7, again, it's hard to process, but
it's hard to process.
When you take the logos off, it's not as hard.
Yeah.
If you just watch these teams play,
and the one thing that can scare
without logos, you would have no problem picking Indiana to cover this game.
The problem is that I think in this era of the sport, it's going to be really hard to go 16-0 or 17-0. Teams just get beat sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And Indiana hasn't lost yet.
Exactly.
So maybe there's a little of that of, is it their time to struggle? Is it their time to
they haven't played a bad game yet. But I just got through saying they don't really play bad games.
Yeah.
I mean, what's their worst game? Is Penn State?
Iowa was a bad game.
But Iowa made everybody play that way.
Yeah. I mean, but Iowa making you play that way is a bad game for a team that we're talking about.
Yeah.
The national title.
Iowa or Penn State would be the two. Like, they should not have been in that tight of a game with Penn State. They should not have needed that incredible throw from Fernando Mendoza and that crazy catch by Omar Cooper. They shouldn't have needed that.
And I'm just resentful, as we're on a BetMGM show right now, of the 45-yard safety in the end of the Iowa game.
That's what it is. I forgot about that.
How do you forget about that?
Because I didn't bet it.
I wasn't able to be intimate with my wife for 2 months after that. You can cut that if you want. I just
please don't cut that.
Yeah.
Please don't cut that. Now he's dead serious. And no, I remember how mad you were. Why did they take a safety?
Dumbfounded.
Why would they? And I explained to him the football reasons for taking the safety.
I think part of the reason
he just couldn't accept it.
I think part of the reason why playing the games has been so frowned upon in our industry for such a long time is because there is a circuit in your brain that like fries and then you can't process like.
Right, because I was laying out very legitimate football reasons for why Indiana had to take that safety at the end of that game, and he just would not listen to me. So, but think of it. Listen to ourselves. Listen to this.
That was also a 7-point spread, by the way. So no safeties in the in the
but
Rose Bowl.
We're talking about Indiana's worst games, and can Alabama beat Indiana when it's playing its worst game? Like, that's what we're talking. We're not even talking about the possibility. Like, Indiana plays its best game. We're not giving Alabama a chance.
Yeah. We're on the same side of it. So maybe.
But what if Alabama plays this? Before we go, before we move on to the Sugar Bowl, what if Alabama plays its best game?
I just don't know what that is. That's like from the 4
What does that look
winning
like?
streak.
It has to be. It's either the Tennessee game or the win at Georgia. Maybe it's the Vandy game.
I mean, listen, it's a 7-point spread, which means it should be a competitive game.
Yeah.
I just the point that I want to make, and I keep remembering this, and I'm probably going to write about this tonight. I've got some columns cooking.
Yeah, right.
And I workshop them with you because you helped me. You did, and I mean that. I appreciate your help.
I appreciate that.
I was in the post-game room with you during Kalen DeBoer and Ty Simpson's news conference. And Ty Simpson said, or somebody asked him, what does it mean to shout up all the doubters? And by the way, it makes my skin crawl when people ask Alabama what it's like to shut up the doubters.
Just shut up the haters.
Yeah. Just shut up. Like they're Alabama. Okay. No one's doubting,
Vegas is doubting them right now.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, you're not some plucky underdog that's never had anything nice in their lives.
Right.
But anyway, Ty Simpson, by the way, kind of swagged out in that news conference. I think that like the mentality.
I was impressed.
He goes, what did Kobe say? What did Kobe say? Oh, we're not done yet. And Kobe said, is the job finished? They were asking him after a game 1 or game 2 win in the NBA finals, how he feels. And he goes, is the job finished? He kind of mimicked that. I just want to leave you with this. Alabama, you are not Kobe and Shaq this year. That's it. You're not Kobe and Shaq.
You know who is? Indiana. Fernando and Siggs.
Yeah, which one is Shaq? I think Siggs is Shaq.
Siggs is definitely
and
Shaq.
Fernando is Kobe, and Fernando won the Heisman.
Because I can see Siggs saying how my ass tastes.
Yeah.
I can't see Fernando ever saying that. Ever.
I guess it should be our goal as podcasters to get Siggs to say that on our show one day.
He might.
If they win the national title, that guy's going to go nuts.
Oh,
can you imagine?
He's going to be unfiltered. He'll say exactly what's on his mind. It will be incredible.
Yeah, like my brain fantasizes about things. It's like, what will Shannon Dawson come up with in 10 days of thought process? That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Miami's offensive coordinator. What kind of contraption can he draw up on a piece of paper?
For Malachi Tony.
And I imagine that there are mushrooms involved when you're doing those. What kind of things can Kurt Signetti say when you win the national title? Could you imagine like the things that he says when they don't?
By the way, there's Alabama fans watching this video now going, you already just said that we ain't going to beat Indiana, and now you're just giving them a national title.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look,
that impression that you just did was better than the Rose Bowl one.
Well, Ari, that was a different show.
Oh, yeah.
If you
do your Rose Bowl impression so everybody can see it.
My Keith Jackson impression?
Yeah,
we're not doing it. My Keith Jackson impression sucks. So if you want to see my terrible Keith Jackson impression, I did a Rose Bowl preview video with Ari that came out on Sunday, and I do a terrible Keith Jackson impression, and I'm sorry. It's disrespectful to the memory of the greatest college football announcer of all time, and I'm sorry, and I'll never do it again.
He is the soundtrack of college football to me in my head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it probably frustrates Alabama people to hear this, but I read their message boards. I know deep in their hearts they understand.
Yeah.
This is a flawed team. Like, they are going to need to play perfectly.
Did you read their message board in the second quarter of the Oklahoma game?
Sure as hell did.
We're not saying anything you haven't said yourselves.
So they're going to need to play really well to win this game, but that's why Ari and I are picking Indiana to cover. Both of us. All right, before we head to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl, let's talk about our friends at Panini. Visit PaniniAmerica.net to start your collection of the greatest college and NFL stars. And Ari, you were around an absolute nuke of a card the other night at the Alabama-Oklahoma game.
I'm not around it. It's in my backpack over there. And collecting is a lifestyle. and I had a few friends. Do you remember when I left the press box for 25 minutes?
This was before the game,
the
yeah,
game,
like
and
2
I
hours
went
before the game.
downstairs.
Yep.
And my buddy brought me a few packs of Panini's latest release, which is the 2025 Panini Prism draft picks, which is the players in their college uniforms, which is in our wheelhouse.
Oh yeah.
And I ripped this pack in the concourse of the stadium, and I pulled one of the best cards you could possibly pull, which is an Arch Manning autograph on card. Now, Arch Manning hasn't necessarily been what we thought, or I thought.
I think there's a good chance he could still wind
still
up being
a very,
very good
valuable card.
Yeah.
But collecting is about, enjoying it, and ripping a pack in the concourse of a college football playoff game and hitting the card of the arch rival of the stadium we're in was quite the treat. But Cole Kubelik from ESPN is so into the lifestyle too that when I showed him that I had that card, he had top loaders and sleeves on him to give me so I could protect the card adequately. It is a great product.
I love that Cole travels everywhere with top loaders.
Yeah, it's like, it's the married version of just always being prepared and having, like Tylenol and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But Andy, the point is I think when you get back to your house, you're going to have a few boxes of this gem waiting for you. I have a few. I'm excited to get home.
We're going to rip some packs on the air.
Andy, you can pull an Arch Manning autograph out of this product, right? And it's right there for you.
Awesome.
So, it was fun. And thank you to my buddy Fred for bringing that to me.
Visit PaniniAmerica.net to start your collection today.
And that's like for all the people too who accuse Panini of sending us juiced boxes. That wasn't a Panini box.
That was
sent
one
to us.
Just,
that was a natural box.
Brought it to you. Yeah.
So you can hit nukes in that thing. And if you like college uniforms, that's the best.
Oh, I love that too. I love to see them in the college uniform. I like the old one when they go with the classic NFL players in their college uniforms.
Yeah, and you have it in that product. Yeah. And you know who else you have in that product? Jeremiah Smith. Caleb Downs is in that product.
Yeah, they're pretty damn good.
You have a few other big time. Shador Sanders is signing in that product. Travis Hunter's in that product, and there's still rookie cards for the class last year. Check it out.
All right. So now we move to New Orleans. We saw a rematch involving Ole Miss already this past weekend. The Ole Miss Tulane game was a rematch, and it played out exactly like the first Ole Miss Tulane game did. Now Ole Miss plays Georgia in New Orleans. Now this is a different venue than the first game. The first game was in Athens. Ole Miss would rather this game not play out the way it did the first time. I think if it is somewhat similar to the first game, we're all going to be highly entertained because this game was wild. The first game, Georgia ends up winning, but nobody's stopping anybody for the first 3 quarters. Georgia finally gets 2 stops in the fourth quarter and ends up beating Ole Miss, but Ole Miss was winning by 2 scores going into the fourth quarter. This was a shootout to end all shootouts. Georgia comes into this as a 6.5-point favorite, which is basically what you'd expect after watching them play the first time. And is kind of a last team that has the ball wins by a touchdown kind of game. That's what it feels like, Ari.
Yeah. I'm super excited for this because this is a good vibes game. You got the visors with the wig. Have you seen that? The Pete Golding.
Oh, yeah. Pete Golding.
That's what I said.
You said
I'm
Pete Golding.
Stuffed up, man. They've got the visors with the hair.
Yep.
The game was very exciting the first time. Is a Disney movie that's not as inspiring as the plucky underdog winning. But
I said this underdog's not that plucky. This underdog is really talented.
Is there a Disney movie being written about the underdog coach who stood by his guys and wanted to be there when the other hotshot coach
he got an SEC head coaching job out of it. Pete Golding did not do this out of the complete kindness of his heart. He now gets to be an SEC head coach.
This movie, what I'm describing is like a sequel to The Notebook. It's just two people who love each other finding themselves.
Ryan Gosling as
Ryan
Pete
McAdams.
Golding.
Rachel McAdams was an absolute smoke show, so it worked out for him.
Yeah,
but doesn't mean that it wasn't a wonderful love story.
Yes.
So Ole Miss is the smoke show in this scenario, and Pete Golding's going to try.
Red shirt Miss America's there.
Pete Golding's going to try to like rebuild a house, which is Ole Miss's stadium. But like this is. Ole Miss felt betrayed, though. On a serious note, they felt betrayed 2 weeks ago.
Yes,
and they have a person that is in their program, that wants to be there, is acting like he's been there already in this position for 2 years. They came out and showed on tape that they're not going to be a weaker version of itself. It looked identical to the way that it did before. And they played this team already down to the wire, I think. So, like, do you think that Georgia is just playing at a high enough level where they're kind of separating and ascending at the right time? Or is there an everybody love everybody? The thing that Golding said to me that was, not to me, that struck me recently was, everybody here is trying to improve value. Did you see this quote? Mm-hmm. If you're a coach, you're trying to improve value.
It's
a
Nick Saban
quote. Yeah. If you're a player who's going to the NFL, you want to improve your draft stock. If you're a player who's an underclassman, you want to improve your NIL value. Everybody is trying to improve that together. They remained enough together to continue to play at a high level. Ole Miss absolutely could beat Georgia.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And you saw, I mean, they went to Athens and they had them on the ropes. And if Ole Miss doesn't go 3 and out twice in the fourth quarter, they probably do beat Georgia. So it's entirely possible that Ole Miss turns around and wins this game. It's also possible that in that game, Georgia got unlocked, because I feel like since that game, Georgia has been much better than it was the first part of the season. They have been one of the best teams in the country at the end of the season. The only game that's a little bit of an outlier is that Georgia Tech game, where, again, they lost their center right in the middle of the game and their offense kind of bogged down. But their offense has looked really sharp in every other game since that Ole Miss game, whether it was Mississippi State, Texas, the Alabama game, the SEC championship. And
I think Gunnar Stockton's been kind of underappreciated.
Gunnar Stockton has improved dramatically as the season's gone on.
Underappreciated nationally, I think.
Yeah.
Did he finish in the top 10 of the Heisman voting? I think he did.
I believe he did.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. But he hasn't really taken as much air time as some other players in his position, and I think he's played dramatically better than he.
I think because he can do a lot of things. Like, you're comfortable with him just sitting in the pocket and trying to pick a team apart, but also if he gets flushed, he can go run for a first down.
Very, very
agile. He can keep a play alive behind the line of scrimmage and hit somebody downfield. Like, he's a dangerous quarterback.
And he's made big throws in big moments too this year. So, when you look at this game, like, what moves you? Like, how do you feel like Georgia is going into Death Star mode here?
Not Death Star mode. Their defense is still not as, and it's never going to be as dominant as like the 21 Georgia defense. They don't have the personnel to do that. But their defense is significantly better. And I look at the way they played defensively against Texas and against Alabama at the end of the season, and I think they're going to be better defensively than they were the first time around against Ole Miss. The other thing I'm worried about with Ole Miss is Kewan Lacey's shoulder, because he went out late in the Tulane game with Pete Golding called it a bruised shoulder. I worry about that with a running back, because if there's severe, intense pain when you're getting hit, that's not a recipe for success when you're having to play Georgia. Now, it might be there's enough time that he fully recovers, and that if that's the case, that's great. But I will be concerned about that until I see him running in his usual violent fashion against the Bulldogs, because he can make drives continue by himself, because he's so good at breaking tackles, because he just doesn't go down on the first hit. And I think if he can do that, if Ole Miss avoids the 3 and outs that killed them in the first game, I think this could be another shootout. I do think we are in line for another really high-scoring game where both offenses are playing at a really high level. So I think we're going to get a game similar to the first one. The question I have for you, Ari, is the result the same?
I don't know. I like Ole Miss here. I'm taking the points.
There you go.
I
think it's interesting, because Georgia would have covered this in the first game, because they got, to use a tennis term, they got up a break basically in the fourth quarter. But I don't know that if they played it again, that I'd be confident that Georgia would win by a touchdown.
Yeah. And I do buy into the fact that, people can be similarly motivated. And I made this joke with Casey Smith on the show last week, but it's like, is Ole Miss like in the gym getting their revenge body right now? Like, I buy into that sort of thing.
But the thing is that you can want that and you can try as hard as you can, but if you don't have the players for that, like I'm not sure Ole Miss has the players defensively. They did last year.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they have the personnel defensively to just throw up a dominant performance against an offense as good as Georgia's.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But I think that they can score a lot. And if you're giving me basically a touchdown in a game that was decided by less the first time, where's the game? It was in Georgia too, right?
It was in
in
Athens.
Athens.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
on a neutral site, I just kind of like that this is going to be a highly competitive, good game.
Yeah.
So I'll take the cushion here.
I'm going to take Georgia to cover here because I do think if they win, it probably is a situation where like it's a tie game and they score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And
You might think differently if it was
I don't think
7.
they're going to win by 20, but I can see them winning by 7.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But these are highly competitive, good, interesting games. And every single time you and I are on opposite sides of this stuff, like I actually feel like, oh, you could be right. Like I don't feel.
Yeah, none of these picks feels crazy at all.
Yeah.
And like we both picked Indiana to cover against Alabama, but if either one of us had picked Alabama, I don't think the other one would have been like, what's wrong with you?
And I also think that, we've spent a lot of time talking about how this isn't the basketball tournament and that like there wasn't going to be Cinderellas like JMU who go to the finals because it's just a different sport. That doesn't mean that unexpected things can't happen.
Right.
Like, and I think that like eventually, like, I mean, unexpected things do happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I have really spent much time on this show or even in my bracket that On 3 released the day that it came out, spent a lot of time considering, well, what are the unexpected things? Like Ole Miss being in the Final Four and it being a Pete Golding bonanza is like something I can clearly see in my brain.
I think Alabama making the Final Four would be the unexpected right now. I think, and Texas Tech making the Final Four, given the line on that game, it wouldn't be shocking, but it would be massively helpful for the Big 12, massively helpful for Texas Tech going forward, and it would validate what they did in the offseason.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be on different sides of you, and it means that this is going to be a good playoff.
This is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. We're going to talk about these games. We're going to do some bowl pick'em later this week because we've got the other bowls to talk about too. And look, we don't know who's going to win in these games. We hardly even know who's playing in these games because of all the opt-outs. But you know what we do know, Ari? There's sprinkles on the BYU and Georgia Tech helmets.
Did you see the mock-up of the Notre Dame sprinkle helmet? I thought that was quite funny.
I did, and it's yet another reason why the Irish are like, "Oh, so glad we're not in that game."
That's funny, but it's going to be a wonderful New Year's, and we're going to be continuing to give you guys content throughout this void of time.
Yep. So normal schedule this week. Normal in-season schedule. We'll do Monday through Thursday. We will not have a show on Saturday unless something wild and crazy happens. And let's be honest, there's probably going to be an emergency show at some point. Like let's say if Michigan hired a coach, we'll probably have an emergency show. But we'll have shows Monday through Thursday. Yes, even a show on Christmas Day. You don't have to listen on Christmas Day. I realize that you might be a little busy, but I also realize you're probably going to be traveling a little bit. Maybe we give you something to listen to on the day after Christmas when you're making all your returns. Or
if you're in the bathroom hiding from your family.
That's true.
Yeah.
Also, Marshall, the Texas A&M fan, email us back and tell us what the hell happened in that game. We'll talk about it on the mailbag show on Thursday. If you give us an update, but people were dying to know.
Yeah. What did you do? And hopefully Marshall's okay.
Because
he's an A&M fan, and it was a rough. I cannot believe they scored only 3 points at home in a playoff game.
Yeah, Marshall may have been inconsolable, and the future in-laws may have been like, get out of our house. We'll find out.
I hope he didn't lose his girlfriend and his favorite team in the same day.
I don't know. Marshall, please email us. We're dying to know.
And if you don't, we're going to fabricate it. So.
Exactly. So hang with us all week. Let's do a little bowl pick 'em on Tuesday, Ari.
That sounds great.
Bowl pick 'em coming up tomorrow. We'll talk to you then.